Okay, we're live. Hello. Welcome to day 5 of the Garden of Entrepreneurial Delights. For those of you who've been with me for 5 days, that's a long time. And I really just want to honor that it's been a big journey. And thank you for hanging around and for joining and for tuning in and catching the replays. And even those of you jumping on with me live in the Zoom room, it's been so fun. So much fun. I've really loved bringing this through for you. I think there's been some major aha moments, lots of like pushing the edges of what we think we're capable of, what we believe and know ourselves to be capable of. And ultimately, that's like the number one intention for this 5-day transmission, is to really activate you to step into that bigger space, to take up more room in your business, to take up more room in your energy in general, right? So today I wanted to give a bit of an overview of what we've spoken about thus far. And then what we're going to be doing is unpacking how to own iconic level work, how to unlock deeper presence in our marketing and in our offers and in our ecosystem, and then how to really leave like legacy leaving bodies of work ultimately. And, you know, the energy that we locked into at the very beginning of these 5 days is all around when it comes to your business. And, you know, if you are in my field, I'm going to absolutely make a guess that you are a soulful entrepreneur. So the work that you do is your soul's work. It is core connected to why you're here in this lifetime on this planet. And it can make it tricky, right? When we're going through moments of expansion and contraction, when we have so much riding on our goals, when we have so much like in it, it's like, I don't want to just go out and get a job, because that's not what I'm here for. It's not what really lights my soul on fire. This is what I'm here for. It's a completely different ball game. Business is a totally different experience to this is just a hustle. This is just a side hustle. This is just another income stream, right? We have actually a lot connected into our results. And we looked at that yesterday. We unplugged from all of the hidden agendas from one goal. We set one goal and we unpacked all the hidden agendas we can have attached to that goal. The idea being that when we have hidden agendas, like we have so much loaded into our intentions and our dreams and our goals. And then it's like, if it doesn't happen, the thing that we're creating, for whatever reason, we're completely attached to it. So if it doesn't happen, it's like a direct attack on my sense of success, my sense of freedom. That was the biggest one that came up yesterday. You know, if I don't scale my business in the next 2 days, then like my freedom is at stake, my success is at stake, my self-worth is at stake, my, you know, all of the things that we feel, right? So we really need to unplug from all of that so we can come back into lightness and joy and play and like unattachment, detachment from what it is that we're putting out there. And when we do that, our energy bodies are more porous. We're not so dense, right? We are able to open up our creative flow. We're able to bring through high frequency bodies of work. And in some cases, we're able to bring through high frequency bodies of work that are like absolutely here to shift the collective, to shift the paradigm, to support the planet to think and feel and relate and do business and live in completely upgraded ways. That's what's available when we're really working with this, what we've uncovered in the last 5 days. Unlocking deeper levels of magnetism in your body. Your body is your business. Like you, as a soulful entrepreneur, what's happening in your body has a direct impact on what's happening in your business. Vice versa, what's happening in your business has a direct impact on what's happening in your body. Likewise, what's happening in your life is also having a direct impact on your business, because it is so interconnected. And yes, your business is a separate entity. I like to see my business as a separate entity with a separate energetic system and a separate mission, and I'm co-creating with it. But ultimately, it's born through me, right? It comes through me. So whatever's happening in my world is going to affect it. And depending on how I can alchemize and move and release and shift energy and lift my frequency so that I'm not allowing the denser 3-dimensional energies to weigh me down, to make me become more heavy, so that my magnetism is dimmed, my aliveness is dimmed, and people can't feel me as much. That's what happens. Now, I want to really speak to like life is life and life will always be lifing, right? Like Far out, I've been dealing with it this morning. We've all been dealing with it. We have kids, we have family, we have partners, we have health crisis. Like, life happens. And I'm not saying that for us to build successful businesses, we need to have a perfect life. It's absolutely not the case. But we need to know how to dance with it. We need to know how to relate to it. We need to know how to respond to it in a way that's not going to also sink or sabotage or bring down the frequency that we're here to move in our business. So this is actually a really nuanced conversation, even when it comes to cultivating magnetism and aliveness, so that people can feel you more, so that when you put something out into the world, people actually feel it, and they don't just glide their eyes over it. It's felt. And yes, there's strategic elements of that, like speaking in a way that captures attention or hijacks attention, writing the right kind of hooks, uncovering the right pain points or the right pleasure points that really speak to your audience. There's strategy, but there's also energy, and they have to go hand in hand. And one of the biggest things that I see is when we're not connected to our business, when it doesn't make us feel something, when we're just in autopilot, or when we're just like putting out for the sake of being consistent or being visible, or running something through ChatGPT and putting it straight out without infusing our own energy through it, people can't feel us. They can't feel our transmission. They can't feel our passion. They can't feel our aliveness. And as a result, it doesn't get the engagement that we want it to get. If we don't feel it when we write it, or when we speak it, how do we expect them to feel when they read it and when they hear it? Now, I've said that over and over and over. And in all of my different containers that I run, whether it's business coaching, whether it's publishing, whether it's energetics and nervous system, it's like one of the core pieces, because we forget this, right? Especially when we're like living in our heads and we're not in the body. We flood up to the head because it might feel too much in the body, too much sensation. It's very normal, very common. But then we're just putting out information. We're not actually putting out transformation. We're just contributing to the noise rather than actually facilitating something that has people go far out. Like, she spoke to me, she touched me, she moved me, she inspired me. And when that happens, people take a step closer towards you, right? They enter your vortex because they've felt something. So over the past 5 days or 4 days, we've been looking at unlocking the creative pulse in your business. That was pretty powerful, where we spoke about the fact that creativity has a rhythm. It is seasonal, right? And sometimes if we want to reconnect to the raw material of our creative genius, we have to trust the fact that it's not going to be perfect. We have to put things out there when they're raw still, right? If it's not perfect, if it's not it's incomplete, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's better just to move with the creative impulse, move with the spark of inspiration. Then on Thursday, on day 2, we spoke about your business as a living masterpiece, as a masterpiece in motion. It's not a machine. But when we get into our head and when we get into this automatic, overperforming, hyper-functioning state, we are treating our business as a machine. We are disconnected from the feeling state, right? Machines, like at least at this point in time, can't feel things. That might change with the rise of AI, who knows, right? It is mechanical. There is no emotion. There is no energetic connection to the heart, right? And when you treat your business like that, you are simply treating it as a machine. You are doing it a disservice. You're not able to actually step into the artistry that is available to you through connection to your creative genius. And when you can see your business as art and your business as a masterpiece in motion, then we can really start to play. We can start to have fun. We can start to expand our perception beyond the realms of what we believe we're capable of. And then on Friday, on day 3, we spoke about the edge of innovation. And we spoke about how when this word innovation, when it first came into the vernacular around the 16th century, this is really key. Innovation comes from the Latin innovare, which means to create anew. But what happened when this word came into the vernacular in the 16th century, roughly, was that innovation was seen as something really bad. It was seen as something, completely that disrupted the tradition. People didn't like innovation. It was a negative word. It was heretical. It went against the grain of what the status quo said was important and essential. And there's something in that, right? When we're wanting to be innovative, when we're wanting to like create, we spoke about a blue ocean strategy. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, it's brilliant, which means you're creating a category of one where there's no competition. You're creating your own market. You're the biggest fish in a small pond rather than a tiny fish in a really, 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 really big pond competing for the same market. And so we're going to be plugging back into this energy of innovation today as we talk about building something iconic. What is the difference between innovation and iconic? We'll tap into that. And how can you own your originality and your creative risk-taking in your business? So you're not just like copying formulas or like doing something because someone else is doing it. You're actually feeling your way through it intuitively, through your aliveness, through your excitement, through your pleasure, through your joy. And then yesterday we spoke about the power of magnetism and how to activate aliveness. And we spoke about capacity, nervous system capacity, because ultimately the more people feel you is directly connected, or the way people feel you is directly connected to the way you feel life. And sometimes it's very hard. We find like we disconnect from letting life run through our body, run through our circuit, run through our system. And that's a nervous system thing. We had a great conversation about capacity and how sometimes expanding capacity, it happens slowly rather than in big, extreme contractions and expansions. And then I took you through a process all about how to collapse time and embody a power state, which is connected to the future self of you that's already achieved the thing that you're creating right now. It is done. It is done. It is done. So today we are bringing it all together, which is really cool. I love what we're talking about today. It is one of my favorite topics. I'm blending a few different things. But ultimately, like the Garden of Entrepreneurial Delights, the reason why I came up with that name, yes, it is a homage to the Garden of Earthly Delights, which the artist escapes me. Maybe Naomi, you might know it. Do you know? Do you know Hieronymus Bosch, I think? Anyway, it's a great, amazing, amazing, amazing painting. And I love the name. And I was like, wow, imagine if we could cultivate a garden of entrepreneurial delights where your business is like an ecosystem that flourishes in the garden of your creative genius. And we can unlock the delight of being in your creative genius and being in your pleasure and being in your joy and being like in the full, like your circuits all lit up like a Christmas tree, and have that be the thing that sells. Have that be the thing that magnetizes your people in. That's the intention. So when we think about an iconic brand, what are we thinking? Where the brands and entrepreneurs and like the big businesses that are iconic, that we consider to be iconic, or the people, the personal brands, the celebrities, the people who are like legacy leaving, like, right? Like we look back on them and they were an iconic person, an iconic human, an iconic business, an iconic brand. Ultimately, they're not just providing value, right? They're doing something more than that. They're not just being consistent and like showing up for the sake of it because someone told them they had to be consistent so the algorithm works in their favor. They aren't just showing up and hoping that people actually buy, hoping that people buy. It's like post and pray. I like to say that, post and pray. Or post and ghost, even worse. I'm going to put something out there and I'm going to run away and I'm not going to look at it until 2 days' time. What they're doing is they're connecting deeply. They're making you feel something. They're making you feel something. They're connecting to an emotion. They're connecting to a dream. They're connecting you to a vision. They're connecting you to your heart. They're connecting you to your anger. They're connecting you to your passion, right? They make you feel something. And ultimately, when we're talking about business and soulful business and like businesses that change the world, am I recording? Just need to, yeah. Oh my God, I just had it. Yes, I am good. When we're talking about businesses that change the world, we need to understand that it's not just about what we sell. Yes, it is, and it's not, right? What we sell is just like the pathways, but ultimately it's about what we stand for. It's about our mission. It's about our authenticity. It's about our story. If you think about like all of the iconic brands and businesses and humans, they all are deeply connected to a sense of story, to something like bigger, right? It's almost the archetypal energy that we're accessing here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to speak about how we can unlock this in ourselves. And ultimately, this is about connecting to something bigger. And we did tap on this yesterday, but we're going deeper, climbing in another layer, connecting to something deeper than ourselves, something bigger than ourselves, a mission that we can say, this is what I must stand for. Who's coming with me? So I can put my flag in the ground and I can say, this is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. Potentially, this is what I stand against. If you want to be able to like create some disruption in the world. As we spoke about yesterday, you need to be aware, or you need to be willing to also withstand the potential tidal waves that can come back as a result for people that stand up and speak up against the status quo. It happens all the time, right? So, what is the deeper mission behind why you do what you do? And I'd actually love to have a conversation here. I think like this is probably the best way that we can really climb into this together, is to speak into this topic, this conversation as a group. So if anyone is willing to unmute themselves and we can have a bit of a back and forth. I know often listening to other people as well, it sparks lots of ideas too. Would anyone like to unmute and we can do some hot seat? Yep, go for it, Kirsty.
What's coming to mind, and I've got these on, so I hope it's not muffled, but I'm in cyclone
Yeah,
watch at
you
the
are.
moment.
Yeah.
Got home too early.
Yeah.
I was literally for everyone else, I was near Tasha's area on the weekend, and
Yeah.
now it's um what's coming to mind is, as you've been speaking this morning about the mission I have for my business and how I'm not connected to it.
Yeah. See that.
So yeah.
Or feel
So yeah,
it.
seen it. Um, and knowing how connected I was to the vision I had and how much I spent in that intuitive space with my previous business, and the drive that kept me going in that business for so long around the amount of young women I wanted to touch through a festival fashion brand that had meaning.
Yeah.
And recognizing in my new business, well, yes, I want to help creative women entrepreneurs who want to make a positive impact. And to a certain level, I've kept attracting those. And then they're literally showing me,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wow, they so light up and their hearts open when they realize the ripple effect of their creation is not just the art creative piece itself, but the impact that it's having. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, there's the connection to my mission of who I want to help, and they're showing up. But I'm recognizing how there's something in me not fully taking hold of that and going, this is my next big piece that I can move with, creating a legacy with.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm just
Okay.
naming that because yeah,
Great to name it. Really good to name
yes.
it. And I know you've named it before in the last couple of weeks. So this is probably like a deeper layer of this realization.
Yep.
So if you were to connect your current level of excitement and aliveness as a
Hmm.
generator, knowing that you
Hmm.
need to have sacral excitement and sacral aliveness for what you do, ask your body, ask your sacral, what would that be? Like, what is it that actually excites me and activates my aliveness right now? Might be hard if you're like in a bit of, what's the word? When you're like hypervigilance,
Mm,
right? So just naming
mm,
that as well. So it could potentially, that could be coming in. But
mm.
when you were to if you were to play with that question, where would you go?
I can feel the creative tension, when you just
Yeah,
feel terrified and you're sitting back. Um, Around like when you say about people feeling you, I know I go into a really stuck energy because I mentalize
yeah,
what this business is about.
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, going to do this. And this um, holding back I've had around when you talk about the sacral of like really being in my body
yeah,
and bringing that more felt sense of
yeah,
what this is about.
yeah,
And And even as I'm speaking now, I can starting to feel like
Yeah.
there's some emotion there, and it's just like, wow, would I really step into that next level
Yeah. Okay.
and go public?
And go big, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And take the mission.
be that leader. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like be on the edge of innovation.
Yep.
So, what's your biggest takeaway from this? Like, what do you, if you could crystallize one thing here moving forward, what would it be?
Some pieces of confirmation that have been coming in is around similar things being said to me, or I'm reading, or what have you, around um like what hope this kind of work and what I can
Mm,
brings to not just my clients but the world.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and just having I've just had 2 months away in Melbourne and coming back to the Shire, and my father came up with me, and even he was like, I just still can't put my finger on it, but people here are so different, and
Yeah.
wow, they're just, and we're all in cyclone prep, so we're all helping each other, and he's just
Yeah.
like, wow, what is that? And I'm thinking, gosh, like th I've got all this amazing experience to give and what people are hungry for, and
Yeah.
I'm holding back on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, there's the great power is in the recognition and the personal responsibility.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one's holding it back but me.
Yeah.
And it's like unleashing is time to unleash, and potentially even Kirsty. Um, you could hijack the energy of the cyclone as it's approaching, as in like far out. What needs to be
Mm.
shaken up? Like how can I get the wind into me, get the
Yeah.
wind through my circuits to actually get shit moving in my system, right?
Yes. I've
There's
thought of that.
huge energy coming your way, huge energy.
Yeah.
It's powerful and it's chaos. And there's like, it's actually the seed of creation in the chaos as well,
Yeah.
right? Like anything is possible in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might bring up a lot of stuff. You might find that it's like it brings up, and it will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can
Mm-hmm.
you also potentially use it to alchemize the last vestiges of holding back and withholding energy in your system?
Yeah.
Because I want to feel you out there. I want to feel you when I see you, and you need
Mm-hmm.
to feel yourself for that to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And you need to feel what you say and what you transmit for that to happen. And I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot of feeling in your system. I know you're a hyper feeling kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
right? You feel very sensitively.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's the barrier there between being like feeling a lot in one area of your life and not feeling a lot in another? And
Mhm.
yeah, really
Just shutting it
powerful.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I know we've got more calls later this week, so we can, if
Mm.
you've got internet.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a lot
I know.
weighing on whether I have internet.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing,
Thank
Darling.
you.
That's really
Thank
powerful
you.
for everyone. All
Thanks.
right.
Thanks, everyone.
So, deeper mission, right? What is the deeper connected feeling and emotion and story behind why I do what I do?
Yeah.
And the story piece is also such a big one. And we're going to unpack that a bit more today as well, because your story, as we all know, like we know storytelling is really important. We know that it is like, this way back thousands of years ago when we were all sitting in tribes around a fire. It was the number one way that people would share, that people would transmit lessons and morals. And our story is also one of the most potent and powerful ways that we can share our business as well. So I like to think of your story as like your thumbprint, your fingerprint, right? No one has a story like you. It's like no one has a fingerprint like you. And when you're able to actively weave your story and your lived experience and all of the amazing things that you've done in your lifetime into your business, into your personal brand, into the transformational work that you're here to facilitate, to be a channel for, something really amazing happens. And if we work with the belief that people buy from people that they like, they buy from brands and people that make them feel something, what's the number one way to do that? is story. It's the number one way to get someone out of the logical part of their brain and into their heart, so that they're feeling and not hyper analyzing. They're not seeing you as being or comparing you to someone else, like they're really in their heart. And so traditionally, usually, our soulmate client is someone who is pretty similar to us, someone who's probably been through some similar things, who's coded in a similar way, who's got the same value or similar values, similar desires, and usually you're a few steps ahead of the journey on a few steps ahead on the journey that they're on as well, right? So one of the most powerful things about sharing your story, not just in a book, but in your content, in your marketing, in your teaching, in your lessons, is that it's connecting people to that sense of story, right? To that sense of, she's been where I am now. And it connects. It's the best way that and I love this phrase, that we show, not tell. Show, not tell. One of the golden rules of great writing, I think it was Hemingway who said that. Show, not tell. How can you show someone through your writing? How can you show that someone is enraged and angry rather than just telling them, the reader, that they're enraged and angry? How can you viscerally paint the experience for the reader? And the same is true in your content, in your marketing, in your emails. Any way you can show and not tell, you're going to be bypassing the logical function of people's brains. You're going to be dropping them directly into their felt sense, especially if you use sensory storytelling, right? Or sensory selling, which is where you it's where you activate their senses through your writing, through your speaking, through your marketing, through your branding, through every way that you put yourself out into the world. So what is it that you wish people knew about your work, about your message, about your story? What part of your story actually makes your work feel real and human and deeply impactful? Because ultimately, people don't just buy your offers, right? They buy your story, your conviction, your authority, your passion, your aliveness, the life that you've created around you, your alignment. They buy that. So who would like to maybe unmute and we can have a little chin wag back and forth about this, about what part of your business do you wish that people knew? What part of your mission do you wish people knew? What part of your story do you wish people knew? Or what part of your story are you afraid that people know? Are you afraid? And I've shared this on day 2, my story about sharing, like in a big USA Today best-selling book, the one story that I held so much shame around, which was my journey with postnatal depression and suicidal ideation. And I was so afraid that it would discredit me if people read that. And I held it back, and it created this bind in my system that was so profound. The shame, it was so big. And me letting it go out to the world globally was like a pretty radical and a pretty extreme way of saying, fuck that, fuck the shame, I'm handing it over. And it did the complete opposite of what I feared it would do. So who would like to unmute and have a little back and forth? If you're feeling a little bit of something here, or even if you're feeling a bit scared too, that's a great sign. I know I can see a few of you on the edge. Yes, Joan, go for it.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
You've got a big release coming up soon.
Yes, big release. It's interesting for me. Where I've been wanting to go, I've been holding back for quite a number of years, not believing that I had what I needed to do it. But where I'm going is a lot based on where I've come from in terms of I'm single mother with an alcoholic ex-husband. And turning your life around when you're in a foreign country with no family is really slow work. And I suppose where I hold back on my story is that people are looking for or often talk about, the really fast transformations. This happened overnight, and I pulled my life together overnight, and I did this overnight, and I did. For me, it hasn't been that. It's been like a 10-year journey
Yeah.
to get to the point where I'm feeling like I'm safe and I'm comfortable and I'm ready to tackle the world, and I'm finally out of survival mode.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, especially, excuse me saying so, but especially the men out there will discredit you because in 10 years you didn't become a millionaire. But there's so much in learning to celebrate yourself and those small wins and the situation you're in
Yeah.
and what you've been able to do with that.
Yeah. I love that. I
But
love
it still feels scary to say that to people.
Of course, because it's kind of disrupting a pretty, like a traditional belief, right? And that ultimately, back to day 3, that's really important. It's really powerful, right? If you can help someone to think in a different way, to create a paradigm shift in how they view themselves, their journey, their history, So it's like ultimately sustainable transformation generally doesn't happen overnight, right? And if you're going to create something that's long lasting, that's built on powerful foundations, it's going to take time. And that's what I'm a stand for. And when you work with me, we're slowing down rather than speeding up. And we're going to let slowness open us and open us even more and open us even more in like direct contrast to the world around us that might potentially say go faster, push more, right? It's like totally different energy. So can you see how you sharing your story, and then we always with storytelling, ladies, it's so important to always ask, like, why am I sharing this story? It's really obvious. Like, what's the purpose of this story? What do I want my soulmate clients to know or to learn from me sharing this? So you could share that story or a story based on what you've just shared, and that's how you tie it back, right? That's the moral, that's the punchline, right? That they are left with. How does that land for you?
Well, I definitely think it's right, if that makes any sense. Like that's where it feels right. Like, I don't know, especially over the last 6 months, I've been feeling into really understanding the importance of foundations.
Yeah.
Business, life, whatever it is, if you don't have those foundations, you can't build the double-story house or the triple-story house.
Exactly.
You need to build them to expand, and that relates to your life as well as your business.
Yeah.
But if you've got bad foundations, it's okay to dig them up and start again.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that, you have to start from scratch, because you're not starting from scratch. See, I think that's one of the big fears for people that are in that state of like, oh, do I really have to rebuild? Am I in a process of rebuilding that? And I can see Zoe nodding your head. Potentially you're thinking, you're like resonating with this, right? It's like, does that mean that I have to then start from scratch? No, you're never starting from scratch. You're always building on the accumulation of what you've learned and what you've done in the past. Even if you're burning the business down and starting it again, it's actually not from scratch. Does that make sense? Okay. So with your big release on like teetering on the edge of happening, the big launch day, checking in, how are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about the launch approaching?
I'm actually more excited about this than I was about Sacred Rebel when we launched Sacred Rebel.
4 years ago,
And
darling. That was a long time ago. Like lots has happened in that time.
a lot has, yeah, a huge amount. Um, I'm excited to be saying to people, I think one of the things I say at the end of my chapter, spoiler alert, is that if we didn't have people who were different thinkers and different doers, we wouldn't have had an Einstein.
Totally.
We wouldn't have had what's the guy in America that changed all the Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had electricity. We wouldn't have had toilets. We wouldn't have had modern mechanics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All of those things rely on someone thinking further than everyone else, or outside the box, or being ingenious, or being a little bit different in their way approach things.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to start feeling into it's okay to do things differently.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do them in your time, because that's how we landed up where we are with these amazing inventions and things like that.
Yeah, it's a permission piece. Give yourself permission to think differently, to do things in your own way, to, slow down instead of speed up 100%. Awesome.
And getting to know yourself and exploring yourself along the way is so powerful in finding where you need to be.
Yes.
And understanding why things have happened the way they have in your life.
Absolutely. The embodiment comes with that, right? Otherwise, we're not really actually extracting the lessons and the gold from even really terrible and traumatic things.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can hear some really beautiful messaging threads for you. So your mission is to then connect it. So we want to, like the golden thread, connect the message, the story, to the offers, the transformational programs, the pathways that people can take with you, right? And often one of the biggest things that I hear from people when it comes to storytelling is like, how do I connect the story to my program or to my offers? And how do I make the transition? Because people can overthink it and they can go into like a bit of analysis paralysis, and then they lose the magic, right? But it's the same thing. It's like coming back to that question, the moral. What is the moral of this story? And is that something that I teach my clients? Is that like a perfect example of how I can show, not tell, about the work that I do? And then that's all I'm saying. All I'm connecting to is this is the work. This is the magic that happens in my private work with my clients. And we can make it very easy. It doesn't need to be weird, right? Sales is often weird when we get in our head about it and we get sticky with it. But the more natural, the more free flowing, the more organic we can make it, ultimately, it's just an invitation. That's how I like to see sales. Like, it's a sacred invitation. They can say no. And also, women are more likely to feel safe to say yes when they're given permission to say no. Boom. I heard that the other day from Shoshana Raven, and I was like, that is fucking brilliant. Women are more likely to say yes when they feel safe to also say no. So one thing I always like to say if I'm actually in a sales conversation or in a back and forth with someone is, this is an invitation, not an obligation. Feel invited, not obligated. And it disarms immediately any sense of she wants something from me, or any sense of pressure, any sense of something, right? All of the sales that you put out into the world, all of the content, all of the everything is essentially an invitation for people to step into your field. They can say yes, they can say no. We all have personal power, personal choice. Beautiful. Thank you, Joan. Beautiful back and forth.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I love to do, and I get all of my authors to do, is to, when they think about, and I'm just going to give it to you in a brief nutshell, when they think about the work that they do with their people, like the transformational work that they facilitate, and then if you cast your mind back over your life, what are the 3 turning points that got you on the pathway to where you are right now? The 3 major turning points. There might be 10, there might be more, but for ease of sake, let's look at 3, right? If you were to look back and be like, that moment shifted things for me. That moment changed the trajectory of my life. That moment facilitated a breakthrough that I don't think I'd be here right now if I didn't have that moment. And then you've got 3 amazing stories to write about, right? Keep it short. If you're posting it on social media, ideally no more than 500 words. People tend to kind of skip at that point. And get into the pleasure of the writing. Ultimately, enjoy it. Allow yourself to be activated by it. This is creative work. It's creative flow. If you feel good when you're writing it, they're going to feel good when they're reading it. If you feel like a lot when you're writing it, then often they're going to feel a lot when they read it too. And that's actually a good thing. So your homework from this piece here is to take one of those stories and to write it as a post that shares why your work matters, and how you've actually lived through something that's given you a deeper sense of embodiment around the work that you do now. Bonus points for those of you who share it in the Facebook group. So in order for us to do this, though, we need to look at, obviously, it's one thing to write a story and to feel something when we write it, and it's another thing to feel comfortable being vulnerable and like willing to showcase our authenticity, right? Now, I want to say something. Often vulnerability is not comfortable, but we need to be like brave to feel the feelings of the vulnerability and to put it out there anyway. There's been many times when I put out things into the world and I've been like, I'm about to spew. I can't believe I'm sharing this. I can't believe it. But I tell you, it's freed me. It has released the shackles in major ways. It is so freeing. So the end of perfect content is over. People don't want perfect content. People don't want polished. This is what I'm noticing in the marketplace. People can see through manufactured content, manufactured anything, performed, hyper performed anything. They can see through it. They want real. They want raw. They want trust. They want connection. They want to feel you. They want to feel alive. They want to feel your aliveness. They want to feel your passion. They're not going to be hunting after the posts or the content or the marketing or the offers or the emails or the whatever it is that you're putting out that is perfectly polished. They want authentic and bold and ultimately human. They want to see the human. They want to see your leadership. They want to see the fact that you've lived through big things, that you've moved through and you've alchemized big things, and that they can trust you to hold space for them. And so how can we do this in a way from a content perspective, from an output perspective that builds trust? It's actually to share the things that really matter, not the things that you think are going to perform well. It's to understand the this moment right now context and speak into that rather than, you know, sometimes when it comes to people writing content, it's like, it feels like it's 5 layers too high and it's not grounded and it's not real and it's not tangible, but it's sort of speaking in this ephemeral, high level, sometimes very spiritual, very woo-woo, very like up here languaging, right? And often people just skim past it because it's not real. It's not like, this is what's happening in the world right now. This is what's happening in my backyard right now. This is what's happening in your life right now. The context is actually as important as the content itself. So what is the context behind your transformational work? Why do women need it now? Why do your soulmate clients, why is now the time? Why this offer and why now? And that's sometimes the very big missing thing. People just post about the offer and they post about the offer and they post about the offer, but they don't actually bring in the context that makes people go, I can see why this is actually important. The context often facilitates the aha moment. Is everyone like clear on the difference here between the context and the content? It's like, what's happening right now that makes this a no-brainer for you, that makes this the perfect solution for you, that makes this, that makes me, that makes this program, that makes this transformational experience that has your name all over it, so that people can self-identify. And when we lead, so this is when we're talking about like sharing what actually matters, right? The context of what's happening right now. When we lead with truth, and I often like to talk about when it comes to frequency in messaging and speaking and like writing copy, and there's a moment often when we are able to strike the tone of truth. And it's like, I imagine it like a gong. And we strike the tone of truth in our message. We speak into something so profoundly and so like potently and so deeply and so activatingly that people are like, whoa, and they hear it. That gong sounds even on the other side of the world, even with 1,000 other people in the social media market, right? They feel it. And this is as much a part of your channel opening and a creative process happening as writing a book and painting a piece of art and sitting down at an instrument, right? Your message is your art. Your message is your transmission. And it activates, ideally, it is designed to activate people, to touch them, to make them feel something. This is the number one thread throughout the whole 5 days. You want to make people feel something. When they feel something, they feel that connection to you, right? So I'm excited to see all your lives, all of your pieces of content, your stories. Before we finish up, though, I want to tap into a third phase here. I want to bring a third phase in, and that is your business actually ready for expansion? So great question, because we often say, I want to make more money. I want to call in more clients. I want to make more of an impact. But if you had 1,000 new people enter your audience today, do you think your business would be able to handle it? Do you think your nervous system would be able to handle it and hold it? Would your systems hold it? So it's one thing to want growth in your business, and it's another thing to be fully ready for it, to be fully like engaged, ready to rumble. I'm ready. Let's go. So one of the most powerful things you can do right now is actually look at your offers, look at the pathways, look at your website, look at everything, look at your content, and actually ask yourself, is my business able to scale effortlessly? Is it set up to scale? Is my messaging and my branding presence, is it clear? Is it compelling enough for people to get it? Is it clear and compelling enough for people to get it? Is it convoluted? Is it using like coaching lingo or highly spiritual or 5D languaging? Is it grounded? Is it powerful? Is it real? Is it raw? Would my sales systems actually be able to hold more clients without burning me out? Or am I actually, is there fear in my system that if I was to unlock if one of my posts went viral and all of a sudden I'm having like dozens of inquiries and I'm having people joining into my offers without me even having anything, like they just randomly join in, is my system going to be able to cope with that? Who here feels like maybe right now, no? It's powerful data. Really, really powerful data. Now, it doesn't mean you might decide, I don't want 1,000 people in my offers. That's totally fine. And I'm not saying that that's like the only thing, right? But sometimes from an expansion perspective, you know, when we tap into the biggest and then we can come back, it's like if we can expand to hold the big possibility, then we can hold anything under that as well. And so I will always say, audit your stuff. When was the last time you looked at your website? When was the last time you read your content from a few weeks ago? When was the last time you looked at the offers that you're putting out into the world? Audit it, audit them. Is it actually aligned with where I'm at? Is it aligned with the frequency that I want to transmit? Does it make sense? Is the pricing in alignment? Does it actually reflect my level of mastery? Am I actually communicating my level of mastery? Are my offers positioned as the solution or the like innovative solution, or is it just another option? Am I like speaking like everybody else that I'm seeing in my industry, or am I really taking the reins and allowing my personality and my story and my authenticity and my values and my mission to lead? And if we're wanting to create messaging that actually stands out, we need to know the answers to these questions. Are we speaking with a sense of clarity and boldness and aliveness and conviction? Or are we just repeating? Are we stuck in repetition? Remember, we spoke on Monday, a business without creativity is just repetition. We're just repeating what everyone else is doing. Are we really building a movement in this? Or are we just selling another offer? So how's this landing? I'd love to maybe call on one more person to deepen here. If anybody wants to unmute themselves, go for it, Naomi. I can see you. Oh, maybe not.
You see, Tash, can I
Yeah,
ask a question?
sure, go for it.
One of the whole idea of the story,
Yeah,
I know everyone has a story, and
yeah,
I know everyone's story is unique to them.
yeah.
I have a story.
Mm,
But what I look at outside of me watching people tell their story is that everyone's story is big and transformative or dramatic. Mine has never felt like that.
yeah.
My story has felt very
Mm,
neutral almost, very tame in some ways. You know, I've never been abused. I've never been hurt. I've never had massive trauma. There hasn't been huge shifts in terms of how I operate.
yeah,
So I struggle with the idea of trying to find my story. And I have little moments, like I wrote down two moments
Yeah.
while you were talking about that.
Yeah.
But I find I don't have the story
It's a
because
big
to me
one.
it sounds humdrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hear this a lot. Often it's either one of two things usually. It's like, I don't know if my story is big enough or bold enough or interesting,
Yeah.
or it's the other end of the spectrum. I don't even know where to start. My life
Yeah.
has been so crazy and so chaotic. Like, I don't even know where to start. Usually people land on one end of the spectrum. Sometimes they're in the middle.
Yeah.
But the belief that it needs to be like really like, obviously all good stories center around emotion,
Yeah.
right? Whether it is
Yeah.
positive emotion or negative emotion, good or bad, like, you know what I mean by that? Not like bad,
Yeah.
but, traumatic or enlivening, it doesn't really matter. All good stories, like the creative tension in a piece of storytelling, if we look at the great arc, the hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell, the hero, here's a call to action. Something like he comes from the mundane, or she comes from the mundane. Here's a call to action. Something sparks a moment of inspiration. Something happens. Something makes them go, ah, and they set off on an adventure. Sometimes they usually they meet a mentor. Now that might be a person. It might be not a person. It might be an experience. It might be like a shift in the way that they view the world, and then they descend into the underground, right?
Yeah.
And typically in the underground, they are slaying the dragons. Like, this is the classic storytelling
Yeah.
framework, the arc of story. They slay the dragons, they overcome the bad guy. That's the creative tension, right? Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be the bad guy as in someone who was out to get you. It could be something that you challenged. It could be like, what we were speaking about with Joan, like the fact that sustainable transformation, I challenged the fact that that needs to happen quickly. But it's
Yeah.
finding the moment of challenge or the moment of like tension in the story, and then alchemizing that, and then coming back up out of the underworld with greater gifts to share. Now, we can talk about storytelling in two different ways. We've got our own unique individual stories, right? Where we go
Mm.
on that journey, and we can find, like, we can actually map any experience, and this is often what I do with some of my one-on-ones, map any experience that you've had onto that map, right? This is a
Yeah.
great thing to do. So, for example, well, how about you give me an example, Zoe? What was one of the instances that you wrote down?
Well, there were two that really stood out. One was when I was 11, I moved to Australia from
Yep.
England,
Yep.
and that was because of family's decision. Dad got a job here. The other one was the epiphany that I had when I decided to quit my job and study kinesiology.
Yeah. And so that's the one that I'm curious about for sure, because it's
Mm.
directly related to your work. So what was the epiphany? What was happening?
I was in huge stress at work with being accused of bullying and harassment. So going through investigation,
Yeah.
and it ended up that I got cleared of everything.
Yeah.
But the residual stress and loss of confidence in that moment, that, oh, it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That hit me so greatly that I ended up asking for a mental health plan through work, and I went to see what turned out to be a kinesiologist.
Ah,
And so she did three, I was allowed to get three sessions because she was a hypnotherapist. So I did that, but then she ended up telling me to come back on my own terms
yeah.
and have a kinesiology session, which I did, and that led to the epiphany where I felt my whole body light up and
Yeah.
shift, and it was this absolute determination of this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's your story for now, right? Like, that's a
Yeah,
powerful, profound story. So you can hear the creative tension in that, right? You can hear the
yeah,
moment of like there's a couple, right? There's the first one, the aha moment of like, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't deserve to be treated like this. I'm going to make a stand for myself. I'm going to put the stake in the ground. I'm going to draw the line. And then
yeah,
the other one, which was potentially, was that like one, I know, just dropped in, maybe, maybe not. Was that one of the first times you'd ever done that in your life?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's even more powerful. The first time that I fully took a stand for myself and claimed my power to create change in my life.
Yeah.
And the second is the realization that you had through the kinesiology and how powerful it was that it changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
Can you see from that personal example there how you are showing and not telling how powerful kinesiology is?
Yeah.
You could also
Yeah.
use this framework, and this is the second way. So if you were to follow that, like you hearing the call to action is like, you know, what you've been dealing with in your work situation. Probably there
Yeah.
was some intuitive sense that said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to stick with the traditional way anymore. I'm going to do something different, right?
Yeah.
Then you set out, you found your mentor, who was the kinesiologist. She supported you to descend and to face the inner dragons and to reclaim the power that is actually, that's
Mm.
the shadow often. The shadow
Yeah.
is the dragon, the inner dragons within. We are the dragon, right?
Yeah.
There's a part of
Yeah.
us that is the dragon. And so you are able to descend and to like reclaim your power from the shadow, from the dragon in the shadow,
Mm.
and then come back up into the topsoil world with great skills and great wisdom and great brilliance to share. Can you see how that's
Yeah.
beautifully mapped onto that arc of the hero's journey, the
Yeah.
journey?
Yeah.
So then
Yeah. I
that's
can. That's
it's pretty cool, right?
mm.
So that's one way that we can do it. The second way that we can do it is where our client is the hero or the heroine, and we are the mentor, right?
Yeah.
So this is like the brand storytelling. So the client hears a call to action, a call to adventure, a call to arms, where they're like, do you know what? I'm not going to live my life like this anymore. I'm not going to
Mm.
put up with this anymore. I'm not going to, universe, I'm saying whatever it is, the area that you specialize in, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
inspirational moment, the spark of inspiration that makes them go, when you think of that word inspiration, it's to inspire, it's to take a breath, to let
Yeah.
the world move through you, right? So they have the aha moment. They set out, they're looking for solutions, they're looking for the mentor. You were the mentor. You support them to go into the underground, however you do that, to go into the under the soil world, whether that's in your energetic work, whether that's in your leadership work, whether that's in your relationship work. Even if you work in like
Mm.
strategy and systems, there's often an element of that as well, of like stripping away what we thought we knew, who we thought we were. And then your client emerges on the other side with great benefits, great outcomes,
Mm.
great things that they've alchemized. And that's your like, testimonial, greatest testimonial. So
Yeah.
two different ways that we can work with the hero's journey. And it's actually so powerful to see all transformational stories go through the same arc, all of them. So how does that land for you, Zoe? And before you answer that, sometimes the most beautiful stories are in the small moments in life. So I give you an example. While I was doing some beautiful work with Naomi around like presence and being like cultivating deeper levels of presence in my life. And I had this day that was just like, it was one beautiful small moment after another, with like the old gentleman, the old man, like holding the door for me as I walked through, and someone else like helping me with my shopping bags to the car. And like, it was a few other moments, but it was just sinking into the beautiful moment that was that very simple moment. So it doesn't
Mm.
need to be major traumatic or major ahas or major life-changing moments. Sometimes they can be just sharing a moment in time. As long as
Yeah.
you find a way to connect it to, why is this important for my client? Why am I sharing this? Why is this
Yeah.
important? So I'd
Mm.
love to see you write that story. Are you up for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see you write that story. I think that'd be
Mm.
great. Like that's a story you can have on your About Me page. That's your brand
Yeah.
story right there. Your
Yeah.
origin story. That's your origin story.
Mm.
The moment when you decided that this was how you were going to change your life and that you were here now to support other people to experience the same. Really cool, really powerful.
Thank
Anything
you.
that you want to share off the back of that?
No, it's funny though. It sort of like feels that that I think coming to that decision to cancel the retreat has
Mm,
made me, and listening to you say, is my business ready?
mm.
It's not. I
Yeah.
know it's not ready. And it's not ready because I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And so, and I have been playing small. I have been playing as a hobby rather than stepping in as a business owner and actually owning that.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of like the thing that's coming up for me is take 2 months off
Yeah.
and just sit into the hero's journey of your life and
Mm.
why you need to do the things that you want to do, like to step into being in a business. And if that means completely revamping my business, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sort
How
of
can you
feels a bit
play with
like
it?
that's,
How can you play
yeah,
with it and just like invite the magic back in?
mm,
Like
yeah,
when we treat our business like a machine and we're just plodding along from day to day to day to day, there's no magic in that. There's no
yeah,
feeling. There's nothing. It's just like it's just a machine, but it's
yeah,
not a machine.
yeah,
And you'll know when you're ready, and you'll know when you're ready because you'll be excited. You'll
yes.
feel the call again. You'll be like, "Oh, there it is," and you'll be like, "Okay, I'm ready." And I'm really
Yeah.
excited for you for when that
And
happens.
I know that call is never gone. I know it's
Sure.
still there
Sure.
because I do know that I'm actually meant to be doing this work.
Yeah.
I feel that inside of me. It's the passion and the connection to the why and the embodiment of that that's missing at the
Yeah.
moment.
Got
Bit
it.
dormant.
Yeah.
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 Well, thank you.
You know where your work is, where your play is. So, what's like one bold move that you can do today, that like an unapologetic move that you can do, that you can own, that's gonna like shift things and reactivate the magic in in your business, in your life. Sometimes it's like not even in your business. Like for me, buying a piano a month ago, not a business decision, can't put it on the business company card. However, it has unleashed huge passion and energy into my business. Your life and your business are interconnected. So when you really feel in, and like that's what I've learned as well from that, is that's what I used to do when I was a child. That's what I loved to do more than anything else when I was a child. And so, me calling that back into my life now has activated my inner child in a way that I've actually don't think I've ever really felt before. So, what did you love to do when you were a child? Are you doing that now? Is it dancing? Is it riding? Is it sitting in the sun? Is it riding a horse? Is it playing the piano? Is it playing soccer? What is it? And are you allowing yourself, you're giving that yourself that gift? So, in business, from a business perspective, what is one bold move? And I would actually love for you to pop it in the comments so that you can claim it. One bold, unapologetic move you can make in your business. It might be to put the offer out there, stop sitting on it. It might be to go live and share your story, Kirsty Fisher. It might be it might be to go and buy a piano or to buy a journal and to start writing again. It doesn't necessarily have to be business, but business related. But when you really ask your heart and your soul, what is the bold move that you've been sitting on that you know is like time to not sit on it anymore? Create the offer. Thank you, Debbie. And not just create the offer. What else are we doing with the offer, Deb? Debbie, I'll get you to respond to that, please. Because it's one thing to create the offer and then sit on the offer for years. And we don't want to do that. What is another, even if you want to unmute yourself, you can, start sharing my story. Well, that's happening. And you're going to roll with that energy and that momentum that you're going to create. Naomi, I'd love to hear from you. Why don't you unmute yourself? I want to hear your voice.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm actually just sitting here going, wow, I don't know, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I have just gone and purchased a bunch of fabric and things, and I've got this creative project that I have been kind of just wanting to play with, which I feel like even though it's not directly my business, it feels
Totally.
I like the call. And I've been watching you do the playing, awakening stuff with the piano and going, oh, yeah, I just haven't been creative enough lately.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I'm excited to see what you create.
Thank you.
Magic. What about you, Brenda?
Yeah, well, no pun intended, but when you mentioned the piano the first day, that struck a chord with me.
Yeah, I saw your
And
message. Yes.
oh, did I say something? Did I?
Was it you who said something? Oh, maybe it was someone else who was like, oh my God,
Oh,
must have been someone else.
yeah, because I thought the same. I used to play the piano as a child, and it was
Yeah.
such a, that was the way I dealt with emotions
Yeah,
as a
me
child.
too. Me too.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's like, where can I fit a piano? And I haven't approached my partner yet because I'm thinking about putting it in his man cave.
Move over.
It's the only place that'll fit.
Yeah. Well, wherever you can fit it. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's changed my life in so many ways. And
Yeah.
for me, exactly, that's how I would alchemize my emotions. All the way up until I was like learning the song that I've just finished yesterday. I was about maybe 16, 17, maybe even 18. I can't remember exactly how old. And I got to this one point in this song and I was like, I just couldn't get beyond it. I couldn't get beyond it, no matter what I was pushing and forcing and trying to penetrate this song with the energy of my willpower. And it didn't work. And so I walked away. I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. And 20 years later, nearly, I was like, okay, please let's reconnect. And I just finished that piece yesterday. So I can't tell you the excitement of like, wow, this has been, 2.5 decades in the making.
Nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'll just have a look at some of these comments before we finish off. I have two shouting at me, write a book, take up space to be creative, paint rocks. I love that. I love that. Start writing bits of my story, share my story with the turning point. Beautiful. I have to separate. Thank you, Debbie. So everyone catching the replay, thank you so much for being with me over the past 5 days. It's been just really yummy, really, really delicious. I'm going to be going live in the group sometime next. Oh, it's Tuesday. I was thinking it was Friday. It's like the last day. I usually do it Monday to Friday. I'm going to be going live sometime throughout the week, and I'm going to be sharing a shop with me live where I'm going to be talking about 3 amazing new programs. I've never launched 3 programs at once, but I have 3 amazing new programs that I'm going to be sharing with the world, all to do with different things, one related to business coaching, one related to publishing and storytelling, and one related to unlocking passion and magnetism and aliveness through the body. So I'm really excited to be sharing that. Please, if you've enjoyed this transmission, you've enjoyed being in my field, keep your eyes peeled for that, because that's going to be some really beautiful pathways to deepen the work. Feel invited, not obligated. See what I did there? And thank you for being in this space. It's been a real honor. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thank you so much, Tash.
Thank you,
Thank you
Brenda.
so
Lovely
much.
to meet
Did
you.
you do a recording of yesterday?
I did, yeah. It's in the group.
Oh.
I'll tag you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'll tag you.
Thanks, Tash.
Yeah,
Thank
yesterday
you.
was great. All right.
Thanks, Tash. That was great.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye all.
Bye.